Welcome. Good morning, good day, and welcome to you. Yeah, so we have a number of announcements. In a couple weeks here, we have our next online retreat, May 30th through June 1st. And our next in-person retreat is July 13th through the 18th at Kripalu Yoga Center in Massachusetts. So I'm looking forward to being on both of those and connecting with you on one or both of those retreats. So I hope you can make it. Hope you can make it. Okay. Well, this week I was meeting with someone and they asked me a really interesting question. And often when we're on this path of Kundalini Awakening, we can be dragged into very difficult experiences. Some of us can be dragged into the dark night of the soul. And of course, that can be very challenging to navigate. The most challenging thing one will ever experience or can ever experience is when we go through the dark night. And this individual asked me, he said, Craig, is it worth it? And I was like, well, what do you mean, is it worth it? Said, you made it to the other side. Is it worth it? And, I thought that was kind of a funny question. And of course it's worth it. Of course. It's like, what else are we going to do here? I would not trade my experience for $1 billion. Wouldn't trade it for $1 million, wouldn't trade it for $1 billion. So what we're talking about here is a massive shift out of identification with our small, limited egoic nature and stepping into something that is limitless. Limitless. We're talking about stepping into vast, spacious freedom, immense love, and this depth of Buddha nature. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal here. It's not just some little fun experience that comes and goes. It's a big deal. But any of us, when we're on the path, any of us, when we're in the human body, we don't want to feel pain. No one wants to feel pain. But when you identify with your human self fully and you experience pain, it's the worst thing in the world. But what Kundalini is here to teach all of us is that there's something greater than this small identification with ego. There's something greater than the body, something greater than our own mind, something greater than our emotional nature or emotional experiences. And to illustrate this point, I'm not going to tell a lofty spiritual story. I'm going to tell a story what happened to me yesterday. So I woke up and my wife drinks coffee. I made her a delicious cup of coffee and I handed it to her. And then I gave her a big hug. And while she was hugging me, her coffee poured out all down my leg and just created this scalding burn all down my leg. In my body, in my humanity, I was screaming, because I was burned. It was a pretty intense experience. I didn't realize coffee could be so hot, but it was. But my consciousness was laughing, was smiling, was vast, was spacious. And this is the paradox of being free. Paradox of being free is when you know you are your consciousness, it's not that the body doesn't exist and you never feel pain again, but there's this other possibility where you feel yourself as space, you feel yourself as love, you experience yourself as freedom, even if the body is screaming. And it's kind of a really strange way of operating in this world. But it's like having a whole other avenue, a whole other way, a whole other perspective on life that is a million times greater than just the human perspective. A million times greater. And that's why I would never trade my experience with anyone, with anything. because something big has happened here. But the paradox of this path of spiritual awakening, the paradox of Kundalini, is Kundalini, when it first comes to us, it's not a lovely, brilliant experience. Like for most of us, when it comes to us, it rushes through the body and it frightens our human consciousness. It overwhelms us. It's the first thing it tends to do. After it's done a good job of frightening us by this big, overwhelming feeling, often our ego will fight with it, will resist it. And so you have this energy of God coming into your body, trying to show you something much greater than you. But then the human ego tends to fight with it. And so it creates this whole difficulty where God is here to give you this precious gift. We are first, afraid of this gift. We're frightened by it. We resist it. And then the gift, in order to help us realize the gift brings forward all the darkness within us. And so right away we see, gosh, this is a very confusing path. Now, the reason the Kundalini brings forward all the darkness within us is it brings the darkness forward to be met with love, to be healed, to be seen through, to be released, to be emptied out of us, so that we no longer have resistance within us. Because when we experience Kundalini Shakti without resistance, we experience God as our very own nature. As our very own nature, as our very own presence and essence. I mean, what could be greater than that? What could be greater than knowing and experiencing oneself as divine? Well, in our human self, when God comes to us, our human self, because it's always fighting and asserting and guarding its egoic identity, well, it'll fight with this greater realization. And it'll create such enormous difficulty. And we're here because we know this difficulty. We know this paradox of, I think Kundalini is good. my unconscious thinks it's bad, and there's this war going on within me. And so therefore I struggle. And in that struggle arises questions like, is it worth it? Is this really worth it? The hilarious thing is when you truly wake up and you look back at your human life, so much of your human life, so much of your humanity disappears. And it's almost as if all the pain and the struggle and the difficulty that we just went through, it's almost as if it never even happened. It's almost as if it didn't even exist, that it couldn't even possibly exist. And again, like this is part of that mind-bending, mind-warping paradox of awakening. When you wake up, you live in the present moment. And anything that has happened before now, it doesn't exist. Whereas the ego, it lives in time. It lives in this timeline. It has this whole story of pressure building up and pressure releasing. And I can't handle this. And I do want this, and I don't want that. And it has this whole timeline. But what Kundalini Awakening does is it breaks the timeline. It breaks the grip that the ego has on one's consciousness. And it brings us into the immediacy, the freshness, the aliveness, the beauty, the divinity, the spaciousness, the emptiness, the peace, the freedom of this moment. And so I'm going to invite us all just to shut down our eyes and to take a moment and to look inside and to see where in your consciousness, where in the body, where in the mind, is the egoic identity still holding on and fighting? Where is it still holding on and fighting? And the invitation here is to wake up out of ego, to come into the heart, and to soften any and all fight. to soften any and all egoic resistance. And so together, let us breathe in, kind of scan through the body, and just noticing common place for tension is in the forehead. And so we begin today by asking, can we surrender any unconscious or limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs that we have in relationship to Kundalini, in relationship to our evolution on the path? Can we surrender any and all thoughts that hold us back, that limit us in any way? And with this surrender, can we invite the consciousness of the third eye to open, to expand, to spread out? And can you begin to notice that what you are is not a collection of thoughts, or limiting beliefs, or memories from the past, but what you are is that which is awake, that which is aware, that which is vast, spacious, and free. In order to realize this truth, we must identify with the vast, spacious nature of awake awareness. And that feels and is experienced remarkably different than identification with the mind, with thoughts. So it's stepping way back from thought and realizing that what you are is this space out of which thoughts arise, the space out of which your body arises, the space out of which all this energy and Shakti is arising. This is the consciousness of Shiva, vast, spacious peace. So again, we're breathing, we're feeling, we're softening. Just checking in with the jaw and noticing if there's any clenching in the jaw or the cheeks, the back of the skull, the throat, the neck, the shoulders. This is the fifth chakra center, throat chakra. And there's an aspect of ego that lives here that likes to control and manipulate, and judge and criticize, and kind of clamp down and resist life. But again, if we are going to be awake, we choose how to be. We don't allow our emotions to tell us how to be. We actively choose to be the light. We choose to be love. Even if our body feels angry or grumpy or sad or irritable or hurting, stressed, we make the conscious choice, because we are conscious beings, to be open, to breathe, to feel, to soften, to let go. To allow the throat chakra to empty out the falsehood, the confusion, the limitation, the judgment, the criticism. We're inviting the throat to be cleared so that our throat chakra can actually sing the glories of awakening. The throat chakra can share your beauty, your gift here on planet Earth, your light. So inviting the throat to open more fully and to clear. Next, opening in the chest and the heart. And just checking in from a place of compassion. Am I holding? Am I gripping? Am I guarding? Are there any old, dead relationships still hanging out in the heart chakra? And sometimes our exes float around here. There's some pain we experience with mother, father, sister, brother. And again, consciously choosing to let go of the past, choosing to love with openness instead of holding on unconsciously with attachment, choosing to love from openness, seeing the beauty in oneself, the goodness of oneself, the divinity, the purity, the innocence of one's heart. And for most of us, we hold our old pain and our trauma on the surface of the heart. If you journey inward toward the spine, you start to experience the innate goodness, the innocence, the purity of the heart. And sometimes there's a little bit of emotion in there that can be sad because our heart has been so closed, or because we've walked around with hatred or jadedness or heartache or despair. As we're inviting the grace of Kundalini Shakti to burn up anything old from the past, to help it to empty, to release, to flow out, to dissolve. So that this beautiful light of love, this light of awareness can flow, can shine, and shine. And for some of us here, there might be some people we need to forgive in order to help to fully open the heart chakra. Might need to forgive someone from the past. Again, a good chance we need to forgive mother or father or sister or brother, friend, family, or neighbor, or foe. It's okay to acknowledge that human life is messy and difficult and wild and disturbing at times. But sometimes our heart chakra can be like a giant sponge that picks up and carries all this dead weight from the past. So this day, this morning, we invite the grace of Kundalini Shakti to awaken in the heart, to clear, to empty, to wring out that old sponge, and invite the heart to be rebalanced, to shine. This true innocence, it's true light. It's true love, which is always already here. Sometimes it just gets covered up by the heaviness of life. And so again, breathing and feeling and softening and opening, welcoming love, welcoming light, welcoming this beautiful radiance, shining from the heart, burning up anything untrue. And so seeing the heart open fully, the chest, shining with light, overflowing with love. And just making sure we're not holding anything in on the right side or the left. Softening the backside, inviting this love to shine outward, radiating 360, 920 in all directions. This love is flowing. And so next, feeling down into the ribs, right under the heart chakra. And these lower ribs, a lot of people can hold trauma, anger, or fury towards life, especially if we've been abused or victim of great difficulty, a victim of circumstance. Sometimes we hold on to anger, these lower floating ribs. And again, let's invite the grace, the fire of Kundalini Shakti to shine here, burning up any darkness. And sometimes as we work in the solar plexus chakra and the abdomen, there can be a little bit of nausea, and that's a sign of burning, purification. So some of us, many of us, have lots of fight in our solar plexus, and just acknowledging right here, we're breathing, we're feeling, we're sitting or laying down in meditation. There's no reason to fight right now. There's no danger here. So breathing, feeling, softening, opening with love, to love, as love, and inviting the triumph of love, triumph of God's will in our life. So putting down that human will, this fighting for survival, and inviting another way, where we are led by peace, led by love, led by truth, led by great faith. So breathing, feeling, softening in the solar plexus, opening more fully in the abdomen, welcoming the awakening of the hara, a sense of depth, strength, Buddha nature. But again, for many of us, when we first open, we come into contact, the unconscious forces, a fear or sadness or despair in the space of the hara. So again, we're going to invite anything that's here, that's old, that's dense, that's untrue, to be cleared out. To be cleared out. And so breathing, feeling, softening. Gently opening with love. To love. As love. Providing a harmonizing balance in the hara. Next, opening up the root chakra. And sometimes in the root, there can be existential fear, great pain, or sadness. And just checking in with the root. Making sure the root is rooted into the earth. So if you're not feeling rooted, just seeing a root growing out of your bottom, growing out of your right leg and your left legs, flowing down into the earth and connecting the crystalline core of the earth in a sense of being held and carried and balanced and rejuvenated. The deep, dark, radiant light of Mother Earth. And the primary sin of ego. The sin is simply a confusion. The primary confusion of ego is this thought that I must fight for my survival. I must do this path alone. The energy of the earth, the energy of heaven, which is here this day, the energy of Kundalini Shakti is here to remind us, you do not have to walk this path alone. You do not have to do life all by yourself. So we breathe, we feel, we soften, we surrender and allow ourselves to be carried in the light. To be carried in the light. Putting down any fight, any struggle with life. Inviting this Shakti, this grace to come up from the earth. The legs, the feet, flowing up through the energy body. Through the root, blessing the root. Through the hara, blessing the hara. Flowing up through the solar plexus, blessing the solar plexus. Beginning to flood the body. The energy of new life. Flooding the body with light. The energy of new life. Life lived here, fully awake, aware, present. And this moment carried by the grace of God. The grace of Shakti. So again, breathing, feeling, softening, drawing this energy up through the root, through the hara, the solar plexus, flowing up into the heart chakra, exploding with light, with love, with radiance and luminosity. Immense compassion coming online, healing any old wounds, clearing, burning up any darkness and confusion, inviting a triumph of love. The awakening of consciousness that what I am, what you are, is greater than the human mind, the human body, the human emotional nature. What you are is light itself. Seeing this expansion of light spreading throughout your chest, expanding beyond your chest, flowing out into the room, blessing your home, your family, your community, blessing this world. Flowing up through the throat chakra, through the third eye, flowing up through the crown, pouring into heaven. Again, welcoming, celebrating the triumph of love, the triumph of peace, the triumph of light. We breathe, we feel, we smile, we open, we trust. This Shakti is here to show us a greater way to live, a greater way to be, greater space from which we experience all of life. One love, one light, one truth. And so I welcome you into this space. It's so beautiful to be with each of you. I'm going to move into sharing now. If there's anyone new here, we'll do questions in a half hour from now. If you're tuning in at a later date, you can share some of your experience in the YouTube comments below, and we'd love to hear from you. But yeah, so we're going to do sharing and hold space of love for each other. I'm just going to remind everyone about crosstalk. So we're going to make sure we just share from our own experience and not comment on someone else's experience. We share about what's happening in us, how the teachings have touched us, what this meditation has been like, what our experience with Kundalini has been like.